I'm about to interview Stephen Fletcher, who is an educator, a musician, and an author. Stephen considers himself a lover of mankind. Though he was born and raised in the United States, he has spent about 30 years in other countries and cultures. Stephen, you often talk about rites of intensification. What are they?
Rites of intensification are very similar to other rituals in that they are done usually associated with a particular culture, whereas rites of intensification have a universal aspect to them. Typically they are things such as fasting in a religious sense, and they're done to intensify your faith. They're not done in order to drive a particular point home or manipulate a person into a particular way of thinking, but rather to intensify a person's faith, to bring forth what they have and strengthen it. And rites of intensification can be found in not only in literature, in philosophical situations, and of course in religion.
Do you really believe that a 10-minute story can affect someone's life that profoundly?
Yes, I do. The beauty of stories is that they allow a person, the writer, the author of the story, to bring together different elements that they may have experienced in their life and to lay out a framework where a listener or a reader can experience some of those same elements. For example, if there's a firefighter who has had many experiences, many exciting experiences fighting fire, or some other occupation, they write about it, they write short stories about it, and it's possible that through reading such a short story, an individual, be it a child or an adult, can experience some of those same things. Sometimes they connect with a story in such a way that it's profound, that it's life-changing, and so that they become like a rite of intensification. Whereas normally, if a rite of intensification were about fasting, a person connects with their background and, to an extent, their future by this process of fasting. Whereas in a story, they go through some other experiences, and it, in the same way, may change them, may be a life-changing experience.
Is this tied to the work you do using short stories for healing and growth? Can you explain how this works?
The work that I've done with short stories for healing and growth is that I've written a large number of very short stories, most of them around 1,000 words, 10 minutes or so in length when read silently or read aloud. And they all have many different elements in them that people can connect up with. So that, yes, very much so, the short stories that I've written and the work that I do with them, reading them, sharing them in various ways, are means that can help people to heal or grow. As you know, with your background in counseling, and as most of the listeners might know, that most of us have something in our backgrounds that have created scars or bruises. And we all carry these things with us, and we all are really in need of healing in one form or another. And so having a number of stories to share with people gives people an opportunity to see someone else who's gone through something similar and who's transcended it, and therefore has either healed themselves or grown in some way by it.
How can such stories help to create cultural understanding?
Stories are a wonderful vehicle for creating cultural understanding. We often have blinders to various aspects of cultures, things that we don't see because we haven't had the opportunity to experience them, or things that we don't see because we block them. We block out elements of other cultures. In stories, the beauty of various cultures can sneak up on you, and you can gain an appreciation for a particular culture and its nuances, and gain an appreciation and a love for a culture which you've never had first-hand experience living in.
Are all stories the same? Are all short stories suitable for this work?
There are many different opinions about this. My belief is that no, they are not. Many stories have a very positive and powerful central message, but they may have many secondary messages that are not really suitable for healing and growth, for creating cultural understandings. They may use slang, they may use sarcasm that actually is detrimental to the growth or the healing of a person who reads it. So I believe that stories that an educator or a counselor or a therapist who uses stories in their work should select them carefully and choose those which have a very consistent level of elements contained in them that, if they were all combined, would actually be nurturing to the reader or the listener.
What does Gentle Place Publishing have to do with this?
Gentle Place Publishing in the beginning was simply a publishing company, as the name implies, but it has become something more of an educational institution in that it not only publishes stories, books, music, and so on, but it also has spun off other related activities and events and institutions that share the same goals of using stories for healing and growth.
Before we end, can you summarize what we have covered today?
We started out by talking about rites of intensification and how they are used in a traditional sense in situations like religion, where fasting is used as a way to intensify one's faith, and that those rites of intensification are normally not used to focus on a particular change in behavior, but rather that they are a generalized activity which intensifies one's own faith. And we talked about how short stories can be used, stories in general, but specifically short stories, can be used as rites of intensification to share experiences that an author might have with those who would read or listen to those stories, and how the elements that are laid out can then be experienced by the reader or listener and create in that reader or listener a intensification of their own faith, no matter what it is. And that doesn't just mean the religious sense of the word faith. From there we talked about how effective stories are in conveying those kinds of, or creating those kinds of situations, and that the work of Gentle Place Publishing is not only to publish books, stories, music to facilitate that kind of thing, but that has become my own life's work, my own vocation, my own avocation.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for giving us this interview, explaining to us about what you do at Gentle Place Publishing and how the use of stories can promote healing and growth, cultural understanding, and rites of intensification. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.